Hey, it's Jasmine back with episode 9 of Freak Like Tea. Don't forget, episode 9 also means week 9 of lockdown in the UK. In the wake of this pandemic, it's so important for you to buy band merchandise of the bands you love to continue to support them. This week I've got Hannah, Anna, Iman and Jessica from the band Hawxx. They're a heavy metal quartet that won a grant from PRS Women Make Music to be able to record their upcoming EP, of which they have just released their latest single, Deadlands.
Hi. Hello.
How are you guys?
Yeah, I've got an eye twitch. It's kind of annoying.
So, before we get started, just for those who do not know, you guys are Hawxx. For those who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourselves and what you do in the band?
Yeah, I'm Anna, I sing and play guitar.
I'm Jess and I play the drums. I'm Iman and I do backing vocals and also play bass guitar. And then we're waiting on the other member.
Oh, okay, we've got all of you today.
Yeah, I like your backdrop, is that real?
Yeah, I'm not actually at my house at the moment. My room is usually plastered in rock and metal memorabilia and merchandise. But, yeah, I'm at my uncle's at the moment and it's like a weird Aztec Mayan thing.
That's cool.
I love that. It almost looks like it's glowing behind you as well. Like, it's kind of trippy.
Well,
It's very kind of video game, Final Fantasy kind of.
Do you remember the game, what was it? When the iPhone first came out and it was that game where you would, like, jump through jungles?
Jungle Run, no.
It was...
Temple Run.
I remember that.
Temple Run,
That's
not
the one.
Jungle Run. Temple Run, that was an awesome game. I loved that.
That's what it kind of looks
It was
like.
really addictive.
Oh, it was,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah. And there was like 5 other versions of exactly the same game, but with a different scene in the background. Yeah.
I used to play the one,
Yeah.
it was exactly the same concept, but it was with the Looney Tunes characters.
It also reminds me of an old PS1 game that was like the Flintstones, and you'd roll down a hill.
I'm just gonna check on Hannah.
So what else have you guys been up to today?
Been teaching guitar today to children with really bad internet connection, which has been great. It's been a real test of patience.
Ooh. How many students do you teach at once?
Oh,
Is it just one?
One.
Okay.
Thank God. Like that's more than enough to handle. I can't even imagine doing group lessons via Skype right now.
Group Zoom meeting.
Imagine all of the guitars trying to come through at
Drum
once.
on 4.
Oh God. I've just been working today. So I work for a clinic, but it's like a charity clinic, and we mostly see like disabled, deformed, autistic kids. That's like the biggest scope of what we see. We see like all ranges of kids up to the ages of 18, and new mums and pregnant mums as well. So that's what I've been doing today. So I'm like running the clinic, working as the receptionist as well, and doing a bit of admin.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Do we have Anna in the room? Hannah even? That's gonna get so confusing.
Sorry, I got caught on a call.
I've missed your face since yesterday.
You just keep turning your microphone on and off.
You know what? I'm going to join on a laptop because I don't think this is working.
See you again soon. What have you been up to, Jessica?
Well, I've been laying on the sofa all day.
That is the best thing to do.
I haven't been well. But I feel better now, so all good.
How do you do that?
There's a reactions button. It's only got 2 options though, like clapping hands and the thumbs up.
Where?
Yeah, I wish it had more options.
Oh, here we go, I can find it. Yay!
Yay!
I feel like an elderly person trying to figure out how to use
What
technology.
is newfangled technology?
Oh,
yay!
So we've introduced the other guys. So Hannah, for those that don't know who Hawxx is, what do you do in the band?
I play guitar in the band and backing vocals.
Okay, so I don't know if you've seen anything else that I've been doing recently in lockdown, but basically, as a massive fan of rock and metal, the band shirt and band merchandise has always been a staple part of basically a fan's life. And obviously, now that you can't tour, you can't play shows, it is so important for fans like me and other people to be able to continue to support the artists we love by buying band merchandise. So I wanted to start off by asking each of you what kind of things you were growing up listening to, and were you wearing any sort of band merch growing up as well?
I mean, I grew up listening to a random mix of reggae and Arabic music.
Okay.
And then it kind of went more into rock sort of vibes. But I guess my first sort of bands were System of a Down, Korn, Deftones. But I didn't really have any of their merch apart from Deftones. I was a poor child.
If you could have had a t-shirt when you were a kid, what would have wanted?
All of the bands that I listened to, if I could have had like all the merch, just every single band, artist, I just would have had everything.
If I used to go to a gig, then I always used to buy a t-shirt at a gig.
Yeah.
You know, part of the ritual of being at a gig. So, you know, go and see Motorhead and then buy the Motorhead t-shirts. You know, it's just, you know, part of that tour. But yeah, they never used to have like designs for women. It was always the kind of boxy shirt. But, you know, then I learned how to customise and actually it's fine.
I do that. I tend to buy male shirts more because they've got better designs, I find. Like, even when they do have the female design t-shirts, they've got really more feminine designs on them as well. They're not as, like, boisterous, which is what I like, which is why I listen to rock.
Yeah, I agree. And they're more expensive a lot of the time, which I understand now, having to order merch. The tank tops are more expensive than t-shirts, but...
So, I had an Avril Lavigne t-shirt.
Not too bad.
But I think, like, because I grew up in Greece, like, we didn't... Gigs weren't, like, a massive thing. Like, waiting for your favourite artist to come to Greece, especially in the, like, rock and metal world, was, like... It didn't happen, and when it did come around, it was a massive, massive deal. I remember going to the Scorpions when I was 14 and getting a t-shirt and catching a plectrum. That was a moment.
That's cool.
That's
Way! You were much cooler than me.
What, Avril Lavigne?
I did listen to Avril Lavigne, but I was more interested in like Disney Channel, Hannah Montana, and Britney.
I went through that phase. I got into rock and metal when I was about 9, and it was like Iron Maiden and Guns N' Roses. Before that, though, I was listening to like Girls Aloud, and my entire room was pink and purple with Bratz.
Before you were 9.
Before I was 9. And then my first Iron Maiden poster went up, and then it all went downhill from there.
I did go through a phase of getting Kerrang every week and sticking every Kerrang poster on my wall. About 10 posters stuck on my wall, and I didn't even know who the bands were. But I wanted the posters on my wall.
So, Anna, you grew up in Greece. I mean, did you grow up in... Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Bahrain, so it's Middle East next to Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Very tiny, tiny island. When I grew up, at the time that I grew up there, the population was around 300,000 people.
Okay.
And I grew up in a village that was just sand. I had a very different setting growing up.
When did you move over to the UK?
I was quite young, around 8, I think. So, yeah, I've been here a long time.
I mean, for me, I grew up in Jersey.
Yeah.
In the Channel Islands. Not that it's the same at all, but again, there was like no music scene, let alone a rock and metal scene, which is why I moved.
There wasn't much of a scene in Bahrain, but now there is. There's a huge metal scene going on. Yeah, like it's just spiked up, which is really cool. So
let's talk about your own merchandise. So at the moment, you've got a few hoodies and t-shirts with your logo on it. I absolutely love some of the artwork you've got for your singles. My favourite one is the image for Love's a Bitch with the two people in like the red cloth things. So who do you get to design those? Because some of you are actually in them as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we're all in them. We're all in every one. So Iman is one of the models on the Love's a Bitch artwork under the thing. So the photographer is called Eleni Parousi. She's a Greek photographer, and she's insanely talented. Like, has really been a big part of visuals as a band. You know, everything she makes is just so spot on, and yeah, we're big fans of her.
Okay. Do you have any other ideas for merch designs? Do you reckon you'll be getting like those images printed on anything else anytime soon?
Well,
We haven't thought about the singles
yeah,
going on, but we're designing a new kettle of metal
yeah,
thing, which is
yeah. I'm gonna have a go at designing one thing. So we've got the Kettle of Metal, who's like our die-hard fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were thinking of kind of designing specific merch for that.
Okay. You've got a single out, a new one called Deadlands, and I think you've mentioned that it's relatively about mental health.
Yeah, we were talking about what it's about today, so this is handy. But basically, the idea for Deadlands came when I was struggling really badly with mental health and was just generally like a real mess, and also hadn't written a song for like 8 months, which was really shitty because that's such a big part of my identity, is just like expressing myself through writing. To not be able to do that was like really, really shit. And one day I was like, if only there was just this place that you can take all this shit inside your brain and like, you know, take it there and be done with it.
Yeah.
And so that's how the idea for Deadlands came about. And also, like, I guess it's about not letting yourself be defined by when you're facing mental health struggles. You know, when you're having a really rough time, like, that's not all that you are. But also what I find really funny is that I wrote those lyrics in, like, a really beautiful place in the countryside on a lake, like Sherman's Hut, which is, like, what Deadlands would look like at all. But, yeah, that's kind of what it's about.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And obviously, like, with this whole lockdown thing as well and isolation, mental health at the moment is such an important thing to be looking after. So when all of you guys are feeling shitty, do you have any advice on any healthy coping mechanisms during these hard times?
Walking, just to... I've been going on, like, crazy walks. The other day I walked from Kilburn, where I am in North London, to Hackney, which took, like, that was a 5-hour round trip. I went to wish my friend happy birthday. But, like, just, like, getting out in the streets and walking and listening to music, I think it, like, that's a real reset.
Anyone else?
Yeah, just the exercise as well. Like, exercise, bit of endorphin rush, you know. Yeah, I think exercise, it's hard because it's not what you feel like doing when you're in that mood at all. It's like the last thing you want to do. But it does really help. You do feel better afterwards. But you really gotta push it because you just don't feel like doing it. So it's really counterintuitive, but it does really help.
Yeah.
I think keeping in touch with people as well. Like, I'm terrible at talking about my problems. I would rather not. I'm not a very good communicator in that sense. But if you force yourself to do it, or you don't have to go into huge detail, but you could just reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm feeling low or whatever. I think I've been forcing myself to do that a bit more, and that's been helping me.
Yeah, I think, like, knowing that you can ask for help, like, that's been such a big lesson, that, like, you can actually go to someone and you can say, like, this is what I need, you know, and not to be ashamed of doing that. Like, there's no shame in asking for help. Because people are going through the same thing, or have been through the same thing a lot of the time. And
my best mate's still back in Jersey, and we had a FaceTime dinner date, and we set, like, candles up for each other, and then we decided that we were going to send each other care packages, And obviously, like, she can go to a shop just down the road, so she's filled my box with just all, like, shitty sweets, and she sent me a book to read. And she does crocheting as well, so she's made me a little, like, a demon bunny thing.
Amazing! Oh my god!
But, like, I'm nowhere near a shop at the moment. I'm out in the countryside in Leicestershire, and I'm not in my own house, so I've had to make everything from paper. So I made her, like, a little crossword, and I made her a puzzle, and what else did I make her? Yeah, I just made little envelopes with just, like, little messages and songs to listen to when she's feeling down. So it was real cute.
Oh, that's so lovely. That's such a nice idea.
Oh, that's so nice.
I know. It's been good. It's been giving me something to look forward to as well when I was waiting for the package to come.
And it's fun to think of things you can put back as well. You know, like it's, you know, half the fun is coming up with inventive solutions to not having a shop.
So as well, so when you released Deadlands, you won the PRS Women Make Music grant for that. What kind of thing did you have to do to achieve that?
It was a big application form. We basically had to like go into massive detail on what we'd be using the grant for if we won it, and like who we are as a band, and you know our creative process, like so many things, exactly step by step what the money would go towards.
Like a little business plan kind of thing.
Yeah, like the ethos of the band, and like, you know, who do we want to influence, and you know, who do we want to, you know, get involved with, and you know, it was quite a lot.
I wonder how they like sort of determine that then, because obviously I imagine they'd have loads of bands applying for it, so I wonder what kind of thing they were looking for when they decided that.
I mean, when I saw that email, like, I screamed out loud. I was just like, no fucking way that they have chosen a metal band that is, like, not commercial. You know, we're not making indie music. Like, we're not making pop music. Like, you know, it's quite underground what we're doing. And, like, they've chosen a metal band to win this. Like, so I don't know what they saw. Like, what do you guys think? I'm not really sure.
I don't know. I think we did do well with the application.
We're just amazing writers.
Maybe everything was just grammatically correct.
Grammar and punctuation was just like really on point.
We just love writing essays. We're really good at essays, so.
Love an essay. I mean, we could draw on experience, because some of the questions were like, as I say, you know, who do you want to be influenced by your music, or who do you want to, you know, reach out to? And we could draw on experience of gigs that we've been to, and you know, we get quite a lot of like women coming up to us saying like, oh my god, it's, you know, I feel really, you know, quite empowering that I can see women playing instruments on stage, and you know, like really owning it. And that was so nice to hear. And you know, really has been like quite a big driver for me.
And also, like, how it's such a goal for us to diversify the rock and metal scene. Like, to, you know, always about having representation. So, like, if you're a little girl growing up and you're playing guitar, to, like, have those examples on stage that you're like, that's what I want to be doing too. To not only just get more women in the audience, but to get, you know, more women on stage as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, other music, there's that one gig, and they're like, oh, we've actually, you know, bought a drum kit off the back of this, because Jess...
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was like, that's really cute. It's like, yes, play the drums.
It's so nice hearing comments like that.
Yeah, and she was like, what, like 9 or something?
Aww.
Yeah.
So you were just as well talking about because your influences, I imagine, are mainly male. So, like, male bands kind of thing. So if, like, girls now seeing you, what difference do you think it's going to make girls being influenced by girls rather than guys?
I think it's that you don't have to... It takes away from metal having a criteria. Do you know what I mean? That, like, if you look like this and you behave like this, that is what metal is. It's like, it's redefining what metal means to be able to see for women that are doing metal but doing it their own way. So, like,
yeah, you can identify better if you yourself are female and you see other women up on stage, you can identify better and maybe connect better with the music as well.
In terms of like subject matter as well, maybe from like a lyrical point of view, we might approach things in a different way to an all-male metal band. Might have different experiences and just write about it in a different way.
Yeah, like the female experience through metal, it's never going to be the same.
Do you know what's weird about when I was growing up, the only female at the time I knew was a band called the Runaways with Joan Jett. But apart from that, like I was always mainly influenced by Guns N' Roses, and I was obsessed with Guns N' Roses as a kid, especially Axl Rose. And it's weird being mainly influenced by glam rock, because obviously the whole point of it was they were dressing as if they were female. So like I remember as a kid being obsessed with the Welcome to the Jungle music video and being like a little 9-year-old in my bedroom trying to copy all the moves and trying to dress like him, and it was a weird dynamic.
Yeah, because like especially that movement, it borrowed a lot of feminine qualities, but then a female on stage was like, "Oh no, you're not doing that right." But they borrowed a lot of the clothes, the movement, quite sort of feminine, I'd say, a lot of the time. But then when it's surprising then that there wasn't just more females doing that, or potentially when they were females, they were trying to be more male to kind of fit in with them. So it's been odd dynamic, really.
That's super interesting though, isn't it? Because like all these men that are kind of trying to be more female because that's what works more for the genre, but then women are so picked apart if they try and do something similar. Like it's so hard to be a woman on stage without getting like, you're good, but what's the expression?
You're good for a girl.
Like, well, for a woman.
That's the one. Like, you're good for a girl. You're good for a girl.
I've had that said to me so many times.
Or it's the compliment, the ultimate compliment.
It's a backhanded compliment.
You play like a man. It's like, oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. I've been told, you play like a man.
Did you read the review I did on your Deadlands single?
Yeah, we were really impressed.
Thank you. I try so hard not to put the term female anywhere in it. So obviously if you take away your voice, Anna, you can't put a gender to musical instruments and the way they're played.
Yeah.
So people usually do it like with a vocalist. If they're female, they specify that it's a female vocalist, but they don't tend to specify musicians because that's less common.
Yeah.
So like the only thing that you can tell female-wise about the band when you're listening to it is just the vocals. It's got nothing to do with the sound. Although I did slip a... Have you guys ever seen Scooby-Doo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I slipped in
We
that.
have now.
Yeah, did you not know them beforehand? It's all I could visualise when I was listening to it.
Yeah, we
And then made a picture. We made a little spoof of the Hex Girls.
Oh, you have to send that to me.
And turned it into Hawxx. We had to add a new member.
You know what though, like the whole female and like female fronted thing is because we're like still a relatively new band, we've been going for like a year and a half now, maybe nearly 2 years, and so we've had a lot of experience of being asked to play these female fronted nights, so like or just a night of female music, and it's like we find that so funny because what does that mean? You know what I mean? That like everyone shares the same genitals on stage, but like actually the music is completely different, and like one act doesn't like support the other one in any way. It's completely irrelevant. Yeah. But because it's a bunch of women in the room, like that's gonna sell tickets. So it's a really weird culture.
Yeah. Do you remember there was? So I was at uni about a year and a half ago, and we were talking about how apparently the industry is trying to get festivals to be 50-50 male and female now. But if you think about something like Download Festival and any metal festival where the majority is male, just because that's how it works, it really pisses me off, because I go to those gigs to see those bands. That's what I like the most. And if there is a band that's got females in it, like for example Hailstorm is one of my favourite all-time bands, and you guys as well, you know, like if you're playing a festival, you've earned that spot. And if they make it 50-50, then you're going to get a lot of female bands who are there just because they're female, not because they're good enough.
I think there's something behind it as well. Like, I think it's worth asking the question of why there aren't, like, why we need to bring that up in the first place. Do you know what I mean? Like, are women being given the same opportunities? Because I totally agree with not just putting women forward to festivals just because they're female. Like, definitely because they're good. But, like, why is this a thing in the first place? Because I do think that, you know, there are women out there that are amazing at their instruments and that do play really, really well. So why aren't they being given opportunities as men?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would really get to the stage of, oh, you're female, yeah, therefore you automatically get a place. I mean, you know, with these big festivals, you need to be vetted. You know, you need to be successful. You need to bring tickets in. Essentially, that's what the business is. So I don't think it would really be a case of, okay, cool, female, go right this way. But there is a danger of, if that was allowed, or if they didn't pick the right lineup. As they, like, we've been on lineups where, you know, there's been punk and pop and metal in the same night, and it's strange for an audience. Yeah. So if it was something like Download Festival where they got, you know, maybe a more sort of poppy punk thing going on, you know, that's not going to be good for the fans there, and it might even put, you know, the kind of stereotype of, oh, these women aren't very good.
Yeah,
it needs to be like the right band for the right occasion.
Yeah.
If they're female, great.
Yeah, but it shouldn't dictate the outcome, I don't think.
Yeah. No, I mean, it shouldn't get in the way of deciding whether a band is good or not, like, for sure.
It's interesting hearing that, though, from your perspective, because obviously I'm just a fan, really. Whereas obviously I imagine it's a lot different actually being in the midst of the creative process.
I think what's difficult is because there are fewer you know, females in metal. I think then it's people take notice of the band, just because, you know, it might be slightly more unusual. But because then they've paid more attention to that band, and that band, they, you know, they just subjectively they don't like, they'll remember that a lot more than an all-male band that they didn't like.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, that female band shit. Oh, yeah, that band before that were all-male were also really shit. So,
yeah.
Like, why are you singling that band out? Okay, it wasn't your thing, but so was the all-male band before it.
Yeah. I'll never forget in, was it December, we did this competition. It was like a Battle of the Bands thing. And we played with 4 other bands, and, like, you know, not to blow our own trumpet or whatever the expression is, but, like, we had an amazing crowd reaction. Like, we had the biggest crowd and people were really in, like, the energy was insane. It was so great. And then after, like, one of the judges came up to us and she was like, no, seriously, like, it was a no-brainer, like, you guys were amazing. But then the promoter came up to me and Hannah at the end, and he was like, yeah, you know, you nearly didn't get through. And we were a bit like, oh, what? And he was like, and I just hate it, you know, all these photographers that are at the front taking pictures of you. People shouldn't like you because you're female. People should like you because you're good. And it's like, I'm sorry, like, did we ask you? What? You know what I mean?
An unnecessary comment.
It was just so unnecessary, as if he's implying, like, you got through because you're women and not because you had, like, the best crowd reaction that night. you know, and like played really well. So can be dicks about it for sure.
Or maybe he was trying to earn brownie points by trying to stand up for you, and it didn't work. It was the other way around.
Yeah, it was like this really weird fake feminism. I don't know.
Fake feminism, the new movement.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've released a handful of songs. I think it's about 4 or 5 that you've got at the moment. So are you in the process of an EP writing for that? Are you adding more songs to that, or are you going to just keep the songs that you've already got released?
Oh yeah, 3 more brand new songs are coming out.
That's cool. What's the timelines for that? Do you know yet?
Yeah, the next single's coming out next month, next month. We don't know when the 3rd is coming out, because we actually haven't even finished recording it yet. So we've still got a bit of work to do there.
Yeah. Are you having to do that from your homes, or are you hoping to be out in the studio after this?
I think that would be the best.
Yeah.
But we might do it from home. Like, our producer actually did ask if we could do some things from home, so we might give that a go. See if we can finish the EP remotely. Like, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay, so I've got one final question. What new up-and-coming bands have you guys been listening to that you think other people should go and check out?
There's so many. I've been listening to so many new bands.
Enlighten us.
Someone else can go.
I've been stuck in the 70s for the past few weeks.
Okay, what have you been listening to?
Go on, Jess. What are you doing?
Oh, me, in the 70s. Just like old prog and loads of like Zeppelin and stuff like that.
You know what? Like, I've been in such a weird phase, because ever since lockdown started, I've been listening. I don't know if it's because also we're doing a lot of songwriting at the moment, but I've been listening to so many singer-songwriters, like Angel Olsen, Anna Calvi, a lot of Kate Tempest, Bjork as well. Just things that are, you know, that you can really get into the lyrics. So actually, like, I've kind of been, I haven't been listening to a lot of heavy music for a long time, which is unlike me and weird, but time for everything, you know.
I know what you've been listening to.
Who? Me? Oh, Anna. Avril Lavigne.
So yeah, I tried to give this really cool response about how I'm listening to all these singer-songwriters and really delving into the lyrics. The truth of the matter is that all I've been listening to is Little Mix.
Oh, didn't you post something on Instagram the other day about your WhatsApp messages that you've been listening to them?
It was so funny, because I was messaging Jess and I was like, man, you know which band is fucking awesome? Like, I love Little Mix. I honestly think that they are incredible. Like, their songs are great. I think they're all amazing singers, like great dancers. And then Jess was like, stop. Like, no, wait. And then she just, I know every single lyric.
Oh my god.
So that was an amazing moment.
Well, I mean, there are worse things to be into, I guess.
So,
like podcast, it's with Ed Gamble, and it's called Lifers, and it's about just different musicians that he interviews and how metal has like influenced their lives and how they kind of keep going. It's really good. So yeah, it's into podcasts. Lifers is very good.
Okay.
Nice.
So I would recommend, they're a French band, Uneven Structure. They're pretty cool. Vola as well. Ghost Iris. They're all sort of France, Holland area.
Okay.
They're really cool. They're like DJent metal. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce
It's
it.
DJent.
I don't know, how would you pronounce it? Gent?
Is it Gent?
Gent.
Yes.
I've seen it written down, but I've never heard
like
it.
DJ.
No.
But why Gent?
I don't know, because it's the sound of the guitar, gent.
Next
But I find it so endearing that you called it DJent.
I would have said
Like,
DJent. I've never heard it before, but I've seen it written.
Whoa.
To be fair, like, why would you put a D on it then?
Yeah,
No.
I don't know where the term came from, but yeah, it's,
Imagine if you're wrong now, Anna, and people write in being like, actually, it is DJent.
no.
I'm not.
Digent.
I'm sweating now, hoping.
There's also an Arabic band called Wazim. They're pretty cool.
So
Are you looking up how to pronounce it, Anna? I knew that face.
They say it's with a soft J, so some people say it's Jen.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
how do you...
Like Spanish.
But I don't know, everyone seems to have a different way of pronouncing it.
Anyway, it was absolutely lovely talking to you guys. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me. When lockdown lifts and you guys do gigs again, then I'll definitely come along. Cool. Well, thank you. Have a wonderful evening and stay safe, stay alert. Anyway, bye. Love you so much.
Take it love.